is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 294. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... He's sitting here on a Saturday, recording a little bit early here this weekend on our international break. No veil of podcasting here today. How you feeling, my friend?
Got that out the way quick. Very good.
No deception.
I'm doing good, man. You know, should be a fun one here. Excited for a bunch of listener questions. Having to go back through the old schedule, the old compartments up there, remembering some games, some wins and all that, trying to figure out what I'm going with. Feeling good, man. You know, getting some comments about being an MVP. You know, I know your boy Wembanyama's moving up the ladder here.
Oh, we're talking about this? Okay.
He getting the MVP comments. I know that not since Victor Wembanyama has there been a prospect quite like me in the podcasting realm. So I appreciate those comments, the support, people voting for MVP of the pod. Good on you.
Yeah, well, since you have diverted us into a little bit of basketball talk, I'm going to just swing us all the way into NFL NBA crossover.
Oh.
The fuck is Caleb Williams doing? Trying to trademark Iceman? You haven't seen this?
No.
I mean, that's blasphemous.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Shame on you.
Also, he does so not only trying to trademark Iceman, also doing the Trae Young.
Yeah.
He does that, and that's clearly Trae Young's thing. It's LeBron's thing and it's Trae Young's thing. You can't just fucking say it's for your child.
So I know we have a couple Bears fans that listen to the pod, so like, you got get your boy, man.
Yeah, dude.
George is fighting that in court, and he's gonna win.
Yeah, that's way too much.
So, all right, we bring it back.
Okay.
Austin FC. We got, like E mentioned, we're going to have some listener questions from our Patreon members today. We're going to recap what's going on in the international game, of course, during this international break. A couple other pieces of Austin FC news. Last business day, Boy Factory, and the nonsense. So before we get into the rest of episode 294, I want to remind you, as we always do, you can support the show financially for free just by downloading the audio versions of our episodes. You don't even need to listen. You hit that download button. So if you're on YouTube, right, you can double up. You can also toggle on auto downloads wherever you get those podcasts. That'll support us in that fashion going forward, and you won't have to think about it again. You can also go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcast. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, haven't looked in a couple days, but the last time I did look, we were at 599 YouTube subscribers, so almost to 600. Hit that subscribe button. And then, of course, you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And, of course, here on episode 294, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins, Caleb Williams. Wash yourself clean in the waters of the North End. So let's start just with a couple notes that I had from some of our buddies, some of our Patreon members, actually. And this first one comes from our buddy Justin, who was listening to our episode last week recapping the home draw against LAFC. And we were noting in the post-game takeaways segment the difference in shots on target between the FOTMob stats page and the ASA graphics that we always like to pull up and compare after these matches for the first team. And so Justin was going through the ASA kind of glossary, I guess, of all of their, interactive tables and stats and things of that nature. So he sent me this. According to ASA, for their model, a shot on target, a deliberate attempt to score that is on target. Okay. And nothing wrong with that. Yep. Includes all goals being scored and shots on target saved by the goalkeeper. But here's where it, I think, goes wrong. It also includes shots on target that are blocked by, quote, a last line defending player, preventing the ball from entering the goal. And then it says also see shot off target and goes into this, that, and the other. If you match up the blocked shots from FOTMob with the total number of shots on target on the ASA graphic last week, they both come to 11. So my first question was, well, maybe this, like, does this mean a goal line clearance, right? As like a last line defending player. And also, how do you know if a shot that's blocked is actually on target, if it's blocked by somebody other than the goalkeeper? And I think the answer is you don't.
Yeah.
And my whole my summary of this, dude, is like, this is less than ideal. Like, this is, I mean, at least you're defining your parameters there, but I just disagree, man. Like, since when is a block shot a shot on target?
Yeah, no, this is pretty odd to me, and this is a good find. Who was this? Who brought
Justin
this?
Brisson, our buddy there, another Patreon member. So shout out to Justin for this,
yeah,
man,
for
following
sure.
up on that.
This is very odd. You know what I mean? And we went back through the stats on the foul and everything, and there was just no way that all the block shots from that LAFC game were goal line clearances. They were being in the field of play.
Yeah. Or on target.
Oh God, I was gonna say we know a lot about shots off target. That's but yeah, this is weird, man. I don't know. Figure it out. What the fuck?
Well, so I'll also shout out our buddy Peej, who was in another chat and dropped this Mirtu Azuni stat that I found very interesting. According to Peej and his research team, Mirtu's 52 touches last Saturday against LAFC were the most he's ever had in a game with Austin FC. And like, I don't know if I'm so surprised by that fact, because 52 is a big number for a guy like Mirtu. Like, we don't need to go back through the box scores to know that, but he goes deeper, man. In fact, Mirtu had never had a game with 40 or more touches prior to last Saturday night, and had just 5 games of 30 or more touches to this point of his Austin FC tenure. And those 30 touch games Peach pulled for us, actually, and maybe interestingly here, both LAFC regular season matchups, he went over 30 touches last season, and the other 3 at the Galaxy, at Montreal, and home St. Louis. So thinking about that, and I guess we will probably talk. I think Peach actually has a listener question that is related to Mirtu and his future with the club here. But I found that pretty interesting and eye-opening, right, for just how little Mirtu has actually been involved over the year and change that he's been suited up for the Verde and Black.
This is a great pull, a great find, and I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? And I think that my overall analysis of this situation has consistently been, this is not all on Mirtu. Like, yes, he needs to do better in the final third. Yes, he needs to be better when he's on the ball. Yes, he needs to make better timed runs. Plenty of those things need to take place on his side. But we have struggled to find ways to get this dude involved consistently throughout his time here. And like, yeah, the 52, that's great to see that. And like, you saw his level of engagement that game in particular. And we've all pretty much come to the consensus that that was his one of, if not his best game in an Austin FC uniform. So finding out the blend of trying to get him the ball in the right spots and everything is on the coaching staff. And I know that he needs to be better as well. And then it's on the players too to execute, because we do see, right or wrong, plenty of times this dude frantically calling for the ball to be played to him. You know what I mean? And we've already assessed that sometimes he's double teamed and he needs to fucking realize that. Yeah. But there's also plenty of times where I do think he's open and he has a potential run to be made. So again, it's always just looked a little off. It's looked a little clunky. We have found his best position at this point, obviously, but that was because of the BV injury.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We talked about the dual striker thing a little bit. I think that's part of it.
We're going to get into some of that, I think.
Yeah. But I just remember distinctly bringing it because I was listening back to the last episode and everything. And I think someone had brought it up where it's like, do you feel encouraged about potentially, or maybe it was you who were like, we were like, you know, can we make this work with those guys dual strikers?
Yeah.
And to me, it was just like, we couldn't have figured that out at the start of last year. You know what I mean? Like, why was this some big secret where it was like, yeah, maybe both these guys should be playing up top?
Yeah, they had like 12 or 13 games together, I think, right? Because Mirtu came in a couple games late, and then like guys were in and out on or Mirtu was in and out on international duty and things like that. So, but we'll pick up some Azuni talk here during the listener questions. Before we get to our listener questions this week, real quick roundup from the international ranks. Of course, the 2 big matches that we were all watching here in the Austin FC Sicko universe was Alexander Svatok in Ukraine taking on Sweden, and Mirtu Azuni and the Albanian national team taking on Poland, of course. Those were the semifinal matchups in their 4-team bracket. The winner of that bracket would get a berth into this summer's World Cup. So unfortunately for Ukraine, not only did they not start Alexander Svatok, They lost 3-1 to Sweden on Thursday to bow out of World Cup qualifying. And all I have to say about that, man, is somebody who did not have eyes on that game after Alexander wasn't starting. Maybe you should have, because I'm pretty sure it was, I don't remember how to say this dude's name. The Arsenal striker is like Gerkeris or something like that. I know I butchered the shit out of that, but hat trick from the striker. Like, if there's one thing we know Svatok does, man, is shut down big dominant strikers, or at least make it a little bit tougher, not giving up hat tricks all too often. So I don't know, man. I think maybe they should hire the Austin FC fan base. We could have told you about that.
And that's interesting. I'm just looking at this on FOTMob, and Ukraine is ranked higher than Sweden in the FIFA rankings.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's 30 to 42. So that's it. I thought they were big dogs in this matchup.
Yeah, I didn't actually look at the lines for either game. But that was also my interpretation, is that both of our guys' teams were dogs coming into Thursday's match. But either way, Svatok and Ukraine bow out. Now Mirtu gets the start against Poland, and I did have eyes on this one. Azuni was mostly playing on the right in the midfield line of a 4-4-2. And Albania did score the opening goal and took a 1-0 lead into the half. But the second half, man, like, they missed multiple chances. There was one 2-on-1 fast break that they just, not only do you not convert, but they should have absolutely got a much better shot off than they did. There were a couple other chances that were still clear-cut chances, but that 2-on-1, man, I thought they were going to get that second goal, the insurance goal, and really put that one away. And they end up conceding two. And that was kind of, I think our buddies over there at We Are Austin TV kind of relayed some quotes from across the pond that Mirtu gave to the press over there. And I think his sentiments were similar, where it was like, yeah, man, we had our chances, and that we know we're not France or England or, a traditional European powerhouse like that. So when we have those chances against a team that we're not favored against, we got to take them and we got to do better. And so, again, I thought from what I saw, Mirtu, again, it was kind of a lot of the same. He wasn't up on that front line of two, so he didn't have a ton of chances to shoot. And, he's just not a wizard with the ball at his feet, despite what we saw him do, to the positive in that manner against LAFC. So Albania takes the 2-1 loss. And this is maybe the stupidest thing of all of this. Apparently, Albania and Ukraine play a consolation game on Tuesday. And I understand a third place game for the Olympics, right? There's a bronze medal. I understand the third place at the World Cup, things like that. But do we need a third place game for the UEFA play-in bracket regional semifinal? Yeah. I don't think so. No. So I would hope that both of these guys, considering we play Messi on Saturday, I would hope both of these guys don't play on Tuesday. But as you said to me a little earlier here on Saturday, with our luck, they're probably both starting in this game.
Big minutes. This is odd. You brought this up to me where it's like you get this consolation game. It's like, what for?
Yeah, for what?
Yeah, for what? You know what I mean? And that just makes no sense. Bummed to see both of these teams bow out. Obviously, it would have been really cool to potentially see an Albania versus Ukraine matchup.
Yeah.
I'm right there.
We get it, technically.
Yeah, I'm right there though. I don't want either guy to play, so
just send them back. Get the time zone thing going back. Get them back here, man. If we can, I don't think that's how this is gonna work. But moving on here, unless you have anything else on that, Facundo Torres also got called up after we recorded last Sunday, and I think, I forget who brought this up in one of the chats that I'm in, but somebody made the point that call up to the Uruguayan national team might be our most high profile call up in Austin FC history. So I thought that was just an interesting thought to kind of chew on there, so to speak. But Facu, DNP against England on Friday, and Uruguay will take on Algeria in a friendly over there in Europe on Tuesday. So Tuesday match there for Facu, Tuesday match against Guam for Joseph Rosales in Honduras, and then of course the Tuesday match between Svatok and Azuni, all of those being friendlies. And last but certainly not least here, the most successful of our call-ups was Irvin Torres this weekend over in Europe with the U.S. Youth U19s. matchup against the Wales U19s today on Saturday, and we already got that result in here. U19 U.S. Youth National Team 4-0 victory.
Ooh.
Irvin getting the start. So, of course, we love to see that. And we did have the Youth National Team Twitter account posting the goal scorers, which I believe included Kevin Sullivan, included Snyder Brunel from Seattle. But they did not include Irvin did not score, and they did not have the assisters on those goals. So I choose to believe that Irvin got in the box score with an assist there. But either way, to get the start alongside some of those huge youth names in the MLS ranks, again, I think is just more positive signs about how the people who know a lot more about soccer than we do view one of our most promising prospects from the homegrown ranks.
Yes, super excited for Irvin, man. This is great. Obviously, getting that dub is also fantastic. And I think I agree with the assessment on Facu there. That's the best call-up we've ever had.
So let's get into the listener questions portion here of today's episode. Ian, let's kick this off with a question about kickoffs from our buddy Scott. And so, look, come on.
Come on. It's right there.
And apologies to Scott, because I believe this is a question that he posed to us about a month back and we overlooked. So from Scott, he said, which kickoff tactic do you prefer? Most teams, including Austin, usually go with the back pass to the keeper who then launches it forward. And there's also the tactic to kick it out on the sideline deep in the opponent's half. I think Austin did this once last season. Yeah, it was at least once that Austin did that. Scott says, I see benefits to both, I guess, but I kind of prefer the kick out of bounds option. Is there a third or fourth option that is used in other leagues? What are your thoughts on kickoffs?
Yeah, I think obviously there's benefits to both of these tactics here. You know what I mean? Depending on style of play. I think I personally prefer going back to Brad and then launching it and seeing what happens there. You know what I mean? It just feels like some stuff, like we've seen the ball, I think, roll out for goal kicks before too, obviously on that tactic where you're blasting it to the back and like that doesn't let you set up your press because then they're just teeing it off from back there. So, like, I prefer going back to Brad. You know, my main choice would be just scoring, you know, right away, goal, red card.
Well, and I think for me, like, that's what I'm sure there are reasons why this is not employed more often. But I've always kind of thought, like, especially in the early years of Austin FC, where, like, we are playing out of the back as much as possible, trying to stretch that defense, and really we're clenching when Brad's got it back there, right? Because his first year as the full-time starter certainly has improved with the ball at his feet. I would imagine he would agree with that. But like, I feel like, why don't we just try to stretch the defense at the start? I agree with you that I think that kind of the easiest way is that kind of get it to Brad and then boot it down there. I would much rather employ that when we have Vasquez starting or even Christian Ramirez, because like when it's Mirtu up there or any of our wingers who aren't particularly large, like it just seems like it's less than ideal in terms of keeping possession. And I think there is a time and place, or rather a game plan where kicking the ball out of bounds to start your press sets the tone, and I totally see the merits for that. So I think we're kind of in agreement there. I would love to see more as the set pieces continue to get sharper and sharper globally, it seems, you know, kind of trying to keep up with the global soccer discussion. Can we not, you know, Nico Bosch has been pretty darn good on those set pieces. Do we have any, can we cook up some magic on the kickoff? I know how much tougher that is with all 11 players stacked up in their own half off the kickoff, but I don't know. I thought it was a good question by Scott, trying to think through some of those more intricate potential options off of a kickoff.
Yeah, hit that wheel route, bust it right out of there.
Exactly.
Get to the flat, you know.
Yeah, a little fade, maybe screen. I don't know.
Run a screen with Doomer.
All right, we move on, and we get a question from our buddy Mackie, who says, and this is when we saw this pop up in the Discord, I said, this is bait. Can we anticipate using or any use of the second buyout closer to the summer transfer window opening? And is Sabovic potentially on the block? And I would imagine he meant chopping block and not trading block there, because I don't think he has any trade value rather. But we've got the current state of the senior roster here pulled up on the screen for the YouTube viewers. I think absolutely yes, that the second buyout could be in play here, especially for somebody like Savovich. Dude, even putting aside the underperformance that we think he's had since he's been here, he's one of those guys taking up an international slot. And at the end of the day, right, we have one open right now. Those two that are traded away are coming back during the secondary window. So would we need to buy somebody out to open up an international slot? Probably not. But that doesn't help you when you're Besard Savovich and you've been playing like you have since you've been here. So I'll toss it to you. I think everybody who listens here week in, week out knows your thoughts on Besso right now.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on this? Is there anybody else that you think that could maybe potentially be on the move? Because again, I think the most important thing here, even though we have 3 international slots available once that secondary transfer window opens, we got no senior slots.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously it's on the table as we approach, deadlines and everything like that. I think all options would be on the table. I don't think it seems likely. You know what I mean? And, I'm looking at the roster there, right? And Sabo's sitting right there. We're not getting much out of him, but I still don't think you're using a buyout on him, because unless you have somebody fucking lined up ready to go, because we're playing him out of pure necessity right now, because we're so beat up at this point in time. So we need a body to replace him. So I don't think it's likely. He obviously is the one that stands out, and it's not like his, contract's this huge outlying number like it was with G, where it's like, we got to get this off the books for the finances. What is he, like 6? Yeah. So 550. I mean, look, if there's someone that we can get to replace him, I'm all for it. I just don't think it's likely, but he's really the only name that you can pull, in my opinion. Here, you're not buying any of these other guys out. I mean, you see the kind of logjam there at left back, obviously with the emergence of Rosales and everything, but a dude like Biru has value. You're not just buying him out and letting him walk. Right. No, you're loaning him. You're trying to trade him, something along those lines. And I think the same thing with Komanich as well. He has value. Yeah. I don't think there's a market for Sabo. I mean, there probably is some fucking
somewhere in the world.
Yeah, there's somewhere, but still, it's not like people are lining up to go ahead and get a loan out for him.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's kind of the low hanging fruit in terms of if we're going to use this buyout, who is it on? Him, maybe Bobby T. But again, I don't have any strong indications that Robert Taylor, because if you were going to buy out Robert Taylor, dude, wouldn't you have just done it before the season? I don't know. But what I do think, as we're looking ahead to the secondary transfer window from Mackey's question, there's going to be movement. And Mirtu Izuni would have to put himself into the golden boot conversation for me to envision him being in a spot where I was like, yeah, let's not sell him during the window if he wants to leave and the team wants to move him on. Right. Because we can just, if Brandon Vasquez comes back and is again 80-85% of what he was before he got injured, then those guys just still seem redundant, because, and I know we're going to talk more about Mirtu in a minute, but it's not like where Mirtu played last week is where he's going to play when we're fully healthy. If we ever get there, we're putting Owen Wolf into this offense as well. There is no space, in my opinion, for Mirtu Izuni to kind of play that secondary forward role or chance creator dropping in like he did. So there's going to be movement. I just don't think it's very clear right now because we don't have any senior slots. And there's just going to have to be some sort of, and again, we don't know until the salary drop comes out from the Players Association, whether or not we have anybody unexpectedly on that 226K or less that we could buy down. Because it still technically could be an Ilie Sanchez or a John Bell, right? And buying them down to the supplemental roster. The fact that we didn't do that before the season makes me think that they are probably not under that threshold, but it is not out of the realm of possibility at present. Anything else for you on that? Again, glad we didn't have to go too hard on Savovich there.
No, good.
So move on. And this I thought was a very interesting question, or an interesting exercise after reading the question from Mike Crignola. And Mike said, what is, in italics, the best that Austin FC has played under Nico Estevez? And why was that match the best for you? So do you want to go first here? And I think the overarching theme for both of us, as we kind of tried to pick through this before we hit record today, was that it's enlightening to go through the 40-ish games that Nico has coached. I think it's a little north of that now here in Austin, and have so few options for how good we ultimately felt about the results of last season. You made the playoffs, right? Bare minimum goal. You host the Open Cup final. Not something any of us expected. And some of us still feel maybe a little bit hard done by the officiating in that match. But what was there a game, or maybe even just a period of the season where you kind of nailed down where you felt the best to this point in Nico's tenure?
I mean, the road LAFC win last year, that kind of sticks out. And then I look and I go to the lineup and we have Buka on the left. So it's hard to give a good grade for that, because that was not great for sure, you know. But that little stretch right there, right? Like, you get the LAFC road win, then you beat a super hot San Diego team. And, that San Diego game, you started out really on fire. I thought this was a good approach in that matchup, because we know that San Diego is very possession-based, very, very distinct style. And we played a little bit of a counter game on them, and you got the 2 early goals, and you were able to hold on there. So those two pop out, and then you got the St. Louis win right after that. So, like, that's a nice little stretch for sure. The 2-1 Galaxy win where Paintsel gets the bullshit PK at the end. Yeah. That was a quality win. But again, the Galaxy were absolutely, record-breakingly bad last year. Yeah. So, like, it's hard to say that. I thought the Seattle win at home was a special win, a quality win. I think you got outplayed, but you found a way to get 3 points there. So that one popped up for me too as well. And then I think this might be the one for me. I think this is where I probably am settled, is the 2-1 road win over Minnesota to advance to the Open Cup final. Okay. That Minnesota team was quality last year. They had a very distinct style of play that was giving teams, particularly a team like Austin, fits. And you went into their house and you won that matchup. And it was a knockout game. So it's a different, brand of soccer when that's taking place. It's a little harder to game plan for all that. So I think I'm settled there on the Minnesota 2-1 victory to move ahead into the Open Cup final as Nico's best win. So for me, and I don't know if you could tell by my facial expressions, we went through a lot. You listed off a couple options that you might go with before we hit record, and I told you I'm not going to tell you what mine is. So naturally, the one that I wanted that you never mentioned before we hit record, San Diego, was my high point here. And that is because, thinking about Mike's question when he said, what's the best Austin FC has played under Nico so far? To me, it's the San Diego match, not because of that match in a vacuum, but the LAFC match that you mentioned that was the weekend before. Because while I agree, right, we were very frustrated at that time still, despite the wins, that Buka was being deployed on his less lethal side there. 1-0 victory at LAFC. LAFC was full strength that game, right? There was no Heung-min Son in MLS yet, but right, Bouanga was there, Giroud was there, Abobasi was there, Cengiz Ünder was there at that point, right? And he was very dangerous in that match. But to go out there and get that 1-0 win with the club record 29% possession in that match, and then to follow it up with the home win against San Diego, where you best that possession mark by 24% possession at home, the 2 early goals, and of course, the defense holding up. And dude, in that game, you think back to, especially the second half, Buka should have had at least 1 goal running down free on that right side. I want to say late in that match, I have the box score pulled up here. Yeah, Obrian comes on in the 77th minute. I remember in that match very clearly that he has a breakaway as well, where I believe he should have passed it
and tried to shoot it. So we could have had 3 or 4 goals in that game.
Yeah.
And I think that was the time, or I should say, I know that's the time thinking back now, where I felt like Austin FC was playing the best because we had what I thought at the time was a style that we were developing where we can play this lockdown style. Like, you're not fucking scoring on us unless you get a lucky bounce like the Luca De La Torre goal, if I recall correctly, was hitting those guys on the counter, the fucking quick play of the free kick from Owen to Johnny to get that second goal. Like, I mean, that was the game where we turned around, TJ's holding up the 5, right? Like, we were feeling great that afternoon. So that was my answer. And again, then there was a departure from that. Like, you're not going to play, sub 30% possession and win on the counter every game. That's Minnesota's game, right?
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
But that was my answer, with a close second being the Seattle home win that you mentioned, because that was right the Sunday, I believe, after the midweek Minnesota Open Cup win to advance. And then we were feeling so good after the Seattle win in stoppage time that the title for that episode was "It Can Only Good Happen," right? Which was true that week.
Yeah.
So, but overall, again, I think want to circle back to the point that going through all of that, dude, I don't think Austin FC it's not breaking news that it's not aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
But there just hasn't been long passages of sustained success so far. And that also goes back to our first coach as well, absent the 2022 season.
Yep.
But just man, again, it's a contract year for Nico. And I think this exercise kind of highlights where we talked about in the last episode, right? With the listener question about being Nico out. It's not crazy. It's just not where I am at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that San Diego game, right? You get 6 big chances. So you were really humming there offensively, and it going back through it and everything, it was just a lack of signature kind of wins. Dominated this game, fucking you deserved the 3, and you're looking at just a lot of 1-0s, where you're weaking shit out here. So that was a difficult exercise and a good question. And a fun little exercise to go back and see some games that I've potentially forgotten about.
Yeah, no question. So appreciate Mike for that one. Now we'll move on to Peach's question, which brings us back to Mirtu Azuni. And Peach says, if Mirtu continues to play like he did against LAFC last Saturday, especially once Brandon Vasquez rejoins the squad, would you want to keep him? Do we like a 2-striker setup enough to commit to that? Or should we still sell him with the potentially salvaged value thanks to his solid performance so far? And I think listeners can tell where I'm at on this. I'm very much to the latter. Just because I think we would be better served using that DP slot on a different style of player. I don't think that Mirtu has exhibited, in terms of that kind of second forward, that poacher almost, which we know he's good at. And we saw it in La Liga and La Liga too. And at times with Austin, he just had, he's flubbed a lot of those chances. He's in the spot, probably more often than we want to give him credit for. But I think in that position that, to me, the dream player there is Seba Driussi, because Seba could, he could legitimately play that position in a possession style, right? On the counter. He was just a much more well-rounded option. And I feel if you're going to have a guy like Mirtu in that position, it needs to be more like a Driussi, which I know that those guys don't grow on trees. But we've seen what it can be, or what it maybe should be with a guy in that position. And I just don't think Mirtu is it. So again, it's an uphill climb for him to get back in my good graces in terms of wanting to keep him around throughout the duration of his current contract here in Austin. I would be thrilled to be proven wrong by a statistical turnaround of that magnitude, but I just don't see it. And I also don't see him continuing to play like that if we ever get fully healthy, because I just don't think that's where we have better players for those positions. Number one, being our number 33.
Yeah.
And Owen Wolf.
Yeah. I think I think Mace hit us with what was our biggest disagreement on Austin.
Yes.
Before, we brought up Mirtu there and everything, and I was pretty much on the try to make this work, try to figure it out thing. But I go back to what I said earlier this episode. It's you needed 13 games and then BV to get hurt to like to try to figure out playing these both of these dudes up top. Like, why was this not part of the game plan built in when we brought both of these dudes over here? You know, like we were trying Mirtu on like a wing position. He was completely fucking non-existent. It's like, what was the plan here? So like, I agree. I think I'm just at the point where it's like, I want a different style of player because I want BV up top. I want Owen to be able to move around. And like, I want, you know, people have, I've talked about Seba being on this team so many times where it's just like, it would be awesome for him to feast with these offensive players around him. So I think I'm there where it's just like, it didn't work. We haven't found a way to make it work. He didn't do his part. I don't think the coaching staff has done their job entirely with this situation. And I don't think Roto in the front office made a great decision to get BV and a guy who plays very similar to him or like has similar skill sets.
Occupies the same space.
Yeah. So like, I think I'm at the point where it's like, I want a better player there who plays a different style of game.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like that's, I mean, only you and the people close to us proximity wise in 123 know like how hard I fucking celebrate, not just for an Austin goal, but that being Mirtu last week, because as I said throughout 2025, I wanted him to be my favorite player so bad when he got here. I just can't, like, you got to give us something. You got to give me something.
Yeah.
But again, like if he keeps playing, if he has games like that and goals that count, right, where Ilie is not offside, then like maybe we change our tune. Further context provided is a theme here in the North End.
Yeah, man. You know, like, let's see it though. I got to see it. Yeah.
See it to believe it.
Yep.
So from Dave Ruth, he said, and now jumping to that front office side, Dave says, what are the circumstances where Anthony Precourt might move on from Adolfo Burrell? Things were a mess when Roto got here with bad contracts, etc. But we're through that now, and our budget is consistently top 10-ish in the league. Roto's flat out missed on most DP signings so far, which is not unusual in this league, but still. And we're not realistically that close to being an MLS Cup contender. Injuries and circumstances have played a part, but at some point, the club will want better results than what we're producing. Personally, I don't think that's this year or the sprint season, but would love your point of view. So I'll toss that to you first, if you've got something on Roto. What are the circumstances where Precourt might move on from Roto?
He blackmails someone.
His old team, you know, he blackmails Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, kicks a woman or something. You know, something along those lines. Maybe. Look, man, I am firmly in the camp of Rodolfo Burrell is one of the best assets that this team has. Like, players, coaches, front office, everything. I think he is a top 3 asset in this organization. The name value, the connections he has, I think his ability to negotiate, which we've really liked. We've seen him do a lot of stuff like that. And like talking about missing on DPs, like that's one thing. You also got $10.5 million for Seba, who wanted to fucking leave. You know what I mean? There's other circumstances. You got Romania. You paid for Romania. There's other ones obviously moving out from the hot air thing, like buying out G. I thought that was a lot of stuff like that comes to mind. And like, he inherited an absolute disaster of a spreadsheet in regard to the cap situation. So it would have to be really dire. And I agree. Like, he hasn't batted 1,000 by any stretch of the imagination here, but it would have to be really bad, in my opinion, for it's like, hey, we're moving on from Roto, because again, I think he's one of our best assets here.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I agree as like Roto fan number 1 here. And I'm also like, but I'm also not like diehard enough there, for lack of a better term, to like think that he's blameless in this team.
Sure.
Like, he came in a little bit cocky with all that stuff. Like, and I'm not just talking about like names you wouldn't believe, but the window that he gave us of 2 to 3 transfer windows before he had the roster fully turned around, it's just like he overestimated how quickly he could move within the constraints of the salary cap that this league has in place. But I also think that we've seen like all the things you mentioned, especially the negotiating skills, when it comes to these international transfers, at least the way it appears to us. I just think he's learning lessons, and like we saw a different approach this offseason, acquiring high caliber MLS veteran type of players that are still either entering their prime or before your typical athletic prime age-wise, using the new mechanisms in the rules, right? And so like to get to Dave's question, like what are the circumstances? I've already said this before on the show and I'll say it again. Rodolfo Borrell absent, right? Blackmail, whatever, off the field, away from the club type of stuff that could maybe go down. There will be at least one more coach fire and hire before Rodo leaves. So I do not think he is in danger before that happens. And I agree, I think, with Dave's thought here that the sprint season is probably not the time it happens either, regardless of the results there. Go ahead.
I think the coach thing is a good thing. I think he's got two more hires and fires. Like, I think you got
two more. So like,
I think you can get rid of Nico, and then you bring somebody in, and then you have a stretch where that doesn't work, and then you have to axe that dude potentially, then you can look at that situation with Rodo.
Okay,
where it's like you got to. And like, yeah, you know, the precedent he set coming in obviously did not pan out exactly how we anticipated it, how he outlined it and everything. And, you know, I think there's plenty of question marks surrounding the hiring of Nico Estevez. I think that's a fair way to look at that.
Well, and I also think, dude, like the way, and again, like no matter who's been the head coach or the GM or on the field for this team, like one theme for us in FC here in season 6 continues to be you play to your competition, which is not great.
Yeah.
No, right? It's exciting to compete with the big teams when they come in and sometimes beat them and this and that. But then like when fucking Sporting KC rolls through, man, like can we smack one of these fucking bottom feeders for once?
Yeah,
you know,
for real.
And like you got to do it once or twice before it becomes a habit. And the expectation, like we just don't have that right now. So yeah, that's a good question. Again, like if you guys can't tell, we could talk about this for hours on end, and we do, even when we're not recording. So, we'll move on to the next question here, and that is from our buddy, the resident Louisville City fan, Trevor Allison. And Trevor says, what soccer rule would you most want to see changed? Not rules specific to MLS, but the standard on-field laws of the game. So I will toss this to you again.
This is a tougher one, and I think we have the same answer. Mine's the offsides ruling, and just like initially I was like, "Fuck it, no offsides. Let's see what happens. Let's see how this changes the entire game that everyone loves and calls the beautiful game. If you just got a guy standing in front of the goalie for 90 minutes, like you're gonna have a defender back there. Are you gonna play, on the other side 10-9? Like, what are you gonna do? I think some rulings around like the offsides and stuff could be tweaked a little bit. Obviously, if you've got half a forearm past someone, they're calling it. They're throwing the flag. So
yeah. Well, I think it's probably low hanging fruit, but I'm with you there. Like I think offside, where like you're offside if you are fully past the guy, that would be something that I would love to see like trialed through a season. It's like if they can do that in Next Pro for a season like we do, I would find that interesting. I also think just for me, like loosening substitution restrictions even further than we already did for COVID. Because like, dude, think about like pre-COVID, you and I were the most soccer casuals. Like I would maybe catch a game that wasn't U.S. men's national team once, maybe twice a year. But like, think about just having 3 subs as they did for however long. Yeah. That's crazy to me, dude.
Yeah, agreed.
And like, I don't know if I would want it to go like more subs numerically than the 5 that we already have. Maybe unlimited sub windows for those 5. But like, what about bringing guys back into the game? Like, I don't know, like Mirtu runs his ass off for 15 minutes, gets a 10-minute break. You bring fucking CJ on to run his ass off, then you swap him back out. Like that's something that has always also intrigued me, is like a more traditional compared to the other sports that you and I are more used to throughout our lives. Like that is something that I have thought about as well.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really have too many great answers for that one for sure.
Well, I don't know if that audio came through, but there's a fucking ice cream truck rolling by the
Oh,
North
perfect.
End offices here. So yeah, the coldest day in the last 3 weeks. That's the day you fucking roll through the hood. All right, man. Thanks, Trevor, for the question. And then from our buddy Pete, let's combine these two, from our buddy Dave Smith and our buddy P Mike. So Dave said, if we could get one player to transfer to our club, who you would choose with no restrictions, or who would that be? And to make it more interesting, feel free to go with retired or even deceased players. So like Maradona, Pele, that'd be fucking great. But because P Mike's question was a little bit more specific, I want to tie these two together. P Mike said, can you each make your best pitch to a player leaving the Premier League or a comparable league like the Bundesliga, Ligue 1, etc., to come to Austin FC? And he says he will send us a special donation if we are pitching to Mo Salah, who that was going to be my answer to Dave's question, because if I'm not watching Austin FC or the U.S. men's national team, I'm a very casual, fair weather Liverpool fan because of our buddy Guillermo. And I really have enjoyed watching Mo Salah play for Liverpool, and the fact that he is going to be a free agent this summer. And we've already had some reporting from Tommy Scoops about he's not in contact with San Diego. He's not in contact with, I forget, maybe Inter Miami, whomever. That would be my answer. So for P Mike, I think we should put together a little pitch here for Mohamed Salah. And Mike Crignola also pointed out, and this was a great point, that I don't think we have to start with this, but just to make sure Mo knows that KG Barbecue is here, right? The Egyptian barbecue. I want to say maybe Michelin starred at this point, but delicious stuff. And so you get a little bit of home, a little bit of Texas there, right? A little bit of your American South, a little American Southwest. And I think that's where I would start. But what about you? What are you telling Mohamed Salah about hey, man, Austin's the place to be? Liverpool to Austin FC.
Hey, man, see me at Coconut Club. We can go.
Yeah, there you go.
Go there together. No, I think my pitch would be, I think looking at us being a young club, not having a ton of success, and you're seeing the names over here in the MLS now, the caliber, the level of talent that has expanded in this league. Not just expanded, kind of boomed, just blown up, as of late here. And to be a part of something special, where it was if you brought a trophy here to this city, you're getting the statue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're getting something. We're
something.
Gonna show out for you. You're not leaving here with nothing.
Yeah.
So I think that would be how I play into it. Pitching to Mo Salah, but how many questions am I answering here? This is fucking 3 questions melted into one. I'm thinking of dead guys trying to figure out.
Well, so. No, we're keeping it to Mohamed Salah. We have pinged Salah as the one player that we want to add to Austin.
I want the Colombian goalkeeper who does the scorpion kick in game. That's who I want.
What's his name again?
Rene Higuita.
Okay. Yeah. No, then you have to replace Stuver.
Or
are you just going to get scorpion kick striker?
No, he's definitely in the net, dude. I want to watch this dude back kick a fucking Messi shot.
Okay, but I would say this, because I'm glad you brought up, right, Messi coming to the league and the talent infusion that has come even before and after him arriving in the league, really since we started, and again, it's not since we started the league, this Beckham started it, right? DP rule, Ibrahimovic, yada, yada. But I think the Messi model, we would have to pitch Mohamed Salah on a very similar type of package. You are not going to get, I don't think, as Mo Salah, you're not going to get the league-wide, everybody's paying part of your salary and you're getting a cut of the Apple deal. But in terms of what Inter Miami does for Messi, with all of the outside endorsements bringing his total compensation package well north of anybody else in the league, on top of what he gets paid by Inter Miami, which I want to say in total he's making $50 million a year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher with some other agreements elsewhere. But I think you need to give Mo ownership stake in the club.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to Captain Morgan Club, I think, is just called the East Club right now. that's the Mohamed Salah club now. Like
Okay,
we're gonna have to
yeah.
like put it like pre-statue, like because they
Yeah.
just named the supporter section in the new Miami stadium, I believe, the Lionel Messi stand. Like it has to be pushing all your chips in on this absolute legend, Premier League, two-time, I think, Premier League champion with Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken. Like I think you have to get into that, realm. And I think like fantasies aside here, one thing I was thinking about is like with Mo Salah and MLS courtship, is he more likely to come here or go to the Saudi league where, again, like you maybe get even more money playing over there? And I don't know about Mo's personal life enough to know if like the culture over there, right, being Egyptian, like I don't know if the culture over there is just more amenable to him and a more comfortable place for him to go live and play a couple more seasons compared to coming over here and playing in MLS. I don't know enough about the guy off the field, but something that I thought about just in terms of him coming to MLS at all this summer. Anything else for you on that question or double question?
I mean, give him the Steve Ballmer little aspiration contract. There. Get that set up.
You just got to be good at cheating. You don't get
look, man. I know how to set up a couple LLCs. Don't worry about it. We got our ways. Look, I'll answer. Jokes aside, obviously the Colombian goalkeeper, whatever, that would have been sick. But Seba would be my pick. Like legitimately, it would look great for the team. I think we'd be way better. And to see him back here potentially with a team that I think could compete if you were to bring him on and have him available and everything, I think that would be just awesome. And then, Griezmann, my favorite player, and my favorite retired player is Didier Drogba. So there's my three.
The trio there.
Yeah.
And dude, like thinking about like we won't see him in the sprint season, but assuming Griezmann is, I don't remember the contract length there, but like if he's around 27, 28, we're gonna play Orlando, home or away, one of the two. But I mean, we might be back in Florida, so hopefully they come here. And our last listener question for today's episode. This is another one from Scott. So Scott, bookending the listener question segment, he said, "This is the new Danny Pereira hairdo. You can see it on the screen here for the YouTube. Little kind of twisty braids in there. Okay. Headed into the international break. Like it, love it, hate it. Please discuss."
Love it.
Yeah.
Swagged. Love it, dude. I was going to ask him when we had him on. I was like, hey, man, I'm getting a little older. How do I keep, my youth? How do I, what's the hairstyle that I need to get? Because I did the bleach blonde because all these dudes were doing it. What do I got to do here? So I don't know if I can pull this look off. That's for sure. But I do love it. He looks good, man. I hope he's in a good space and we can get him back here quick.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I, again, like reading too much into the new haircut or hairdo rather, was like, hey, he's feeling good. Like we're on the track back. And like, I know we saw some pictures from the team of him doing some non-contact stuff. So, on the mend. And if you can get him back in late April, that's a huge win.
Huge.
And
I could just be pulling this out of nowhere, but I do feel like the times he's come back from hamstring things, it's been relatively faster than I anticipated. Yeah. I could be off. That could be completely off base. But I feel like, when he did it in Houston. Yeah. We thought he was going to be out for a much longer period of time than he actually was, I felt like, and he kind of came back. Obviously he's a young dude. He can bounce back pretty well. But sure. Really would love to get him back, sooner rather than later.
Well, fingers crossed on that. And that's another thing. Like we will preview, of course, on Wednesday's episode, the big match against Inter Miami before we get on a plane and head out there ourselves. But like, dude, this is like Thursday. We hope to get information from coach. Like, Brandon with no setbacks is ready to be on the bench on Saturday. Or Owen, right? Yep. Like if we can just get one of those two back on Saturday.
Yeah.
And Bobby T, you would think, is back too. You would think. Revenge spot.
Yeah. Nelson got the Nelson stuff swirling a little bit, So like there's a lot of question marks. Definitely need to get that updated injury report and see where we're at. But good Lord, getting Owen on the bench would be fucking sick. could take fucking Savage out of the goddamn rotation.
Yeah. I don't know if we're healthy enough for that yet, but maybe a little bit less. A little bit less. So, perfect timing here from our friends at Los Verdes. And actually, this is a very cool little graphic that I guess I cannot pull this. Oh, here we go. Let me pull this up here. We have the information. If you are not one of the hundreds of Austin FC sickos traveling alongside us out to Miami next week, there is a Los Verdes watch party here in Austin. This, of course, a 6:30 Central Time kickoff. So the party will start at Radio Coffee and Beer, the South location. That is 4204 Menchaca Road here in Austin. 5:30 party start out there. Family friendly with the food trucks. We know that this is always a good time when you go to the away watch parties with Los Verdes. So it is free parking in the lot and nearby. Just make sure you check the signage for the details out there. And those food trucks available include one of our favorites, Veracruz. We had that post LAFC the other night. The Shortwave Diner and Wow Poke. Again, we will talk about that once more on Wednesday, but wanted to get that on everybody's radar that there will be a Los Verdes watch party next Saturday.
Digging the flyer, little Miami Vice vibes there. Looks great. Yeah. For our vegetarians, Veracruz does have some good veggie options for you.
There you go.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's Last Business Day.
Last business day here on episode 294 of the North End Podcast. I don't know what that middle finger was for me during that, so I could see you back there.
I know.
But let's talk about the second team. Of course, this was a Sunday night match, even later than we've been used to so far this season because FCito was on the West Coast taking on Tacoma Defiance. So taking a look at the lineup when it dropped, I believe the same starting lineup absent the Marcel Ruzel in the midfield. I believe it was Kenny Hott's first start here for the second team with Obrehevich, Micah Burton, and Aiden Hale up front. Still the back line of Riley Thomas, Evan Watt, Jules Berry, Patrick Kayeli, and then, of course, next to Kenny in the midfield, Jacobaro and Adrian Gonzalez, Charlie in net. It was good to see Ibrahim Asal back on the bench, I believe for the second time since returning from injury, maybe his first, now almost a week removed from this game. I might be getting a little bit confused. But let's get into this match real quick. First half, fairly uneventful here. We had the first yellow card for Austin in this match came in the 27th minute, and it was Kenny Hott taking out Suska Nome after the young forward for Seattle, or Tacoma rather, got around him and was streaking into the box. I didn't know if that was a tactical foul or he tripped. Either way, it did stop a promising attack, and we will take that. But in the 35th minute, Riley Thomas takes a seat in his own box after about 10 minutes of looking uncomfortable after a previous knock that had him down on the turf. About 10, 12 minutes prior. So in this nap, he sits down the second time. Trainers come on, and he ends up subbing off. Daniel Cheslick comes on for him. No update yet, of course, but I'm hopeful that this is just precautionary because Thomas Riley did walk off under his own power. So hopefully it's nothing serious that keeps him out for too long, because we know that Riley is not just a member of the first team, but a leader on the second team, especially on the back line.
Yeah, for sure. And this team's still trying to find their identity a little bit here. He's a guy that we need. Yeah.
And so in that first half, like I mentioned, fairly uneventful. It was just 5 total shots for the two teams combined. Austin had more shots and more shots on target in that first half, but all level at the break. And coming out of the break, we did have the debut of Eric Feliciano, who I think he is a member of the U16 team and on one of those amateur agreements. So Congrats to Eric for the appearance. He came in for Aiden Hale, who made his first start right the previous week in the 1-0 win over North Texas. 47th minute, right off the rip here, Daniel Chesler picks up a yellow for kicking the ball away on a throw-in for Tacoma. So a little delay of game yellow there. Pretty standard. Not the only one of those we got in this game. Had a pair of subs in the 67th. Marcel Ruzel came on for Adrian Gonzalez. And Ibrahim Asal makes his return to the pitch in for Micah Burton. So good to see Ibrahima back in there. Feliciano gets his name in the book with a yellow card, also kicking the ball away after an offside call in the 71st minute. We get another sub for Austin. Mo Badawia comes in for Dobrahevich in that 77th minute. Yellow card to Roussel in the 86th E, so time running down here in regulation. This, not a delay of game. Missed time challenge there near midfield. So Roussel picking up that 4th yellow card of the match for Austin. And in the 88th minute, dying moments of the 90, Ibrahim Asal checks back to receive a ball near midfield, and then he swings it out to Mo Badawia on the right. And as Mo gets to the edge of the 18 on that right side, a double team arrives. And dude, Badawia just like splits him. And then he's got space inside the area to slip a pass into Kenny Hott, who's standing like 10 yards out from the goal. And Kenny takes a touch. Ball gets like jarred loose momentarily. And then he gets back on it and pokes it towards net. And it rolls in for the late lead. So Kenny Hott, his first professional goal. And also Mo Badawia's first professional goal contribution, if I'm not mistaken. So congrats to both of those guys. Not out of the woods yet. 4 minutes of stoppage given. Tacoma, of course, pushing everybody forward, and it results in multiple chances in those 4 minutes of stoppage. Consecutive corner kick opportunities in that 4th minute. Ends up with a shot from about 10 yards from Tacoma's Leo Flores, and he sends that great chance over the crossbar and into just the abyss of trees behind that net there in Tacoma. So Austin sees out their second 1-0 win in a row here, E. Congrats once again to Keenan Hott and Mo Badawia for that late connection. And you love to see it, man. Back-to-back wins here. You take a look at the stats, 11 shots to 10 in favor of the home team, but 5 on target apiece. Each team had one big chance, and Austin did not miss theirs.
Hey, well done. You're moving up the table here now, but this has been impressive, obviously, because you haven't had your best player with these last 2 victories. Finding a little bit of identity here. Love to see it. Congrats to both those dudes for getting their names officially on the books. Yeah, man, I want to go see this team in person. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, and we can see the live table here if you're watching on the YouTube. Looks like St. Louis City 2 on the road at Sporting KC 2 right now, up 1-0. So St. Louis City back where they were last year, I believe, up at the top of the Western Conference standings. And boy, SKC 2, man, through 5 matches, 2 goals for, 13 against. Looks like they picked up where they left off as well. I wonder if Brian Ariano is still with that team. I guess we will find out at some point here this season when SKC pops up on the schedule. But I did want to highlight this that Ari's pointed out to us, that there is now Next Pro Power Ranks on the website. And I think it's crazy the amount of detail going into this compared to what we get from the power rankings on the first team. Again, I think I saw Ari say this as well. The power rankings are astrology for sickos. But like, if you're going to put like, dude, this, you could see it on the YouTube. The 3 blurbs about Austin, who is up into 9th, so top 10 in the power ranks here. The last blurb says now, if they can be a bit more vertical and create more chances without Jorge Alistue and Irvin Torres in the lineup, they'll remain among the top teams in the West. That is more detail than we ever get in the first team power rankings. It's nuts, dude. And dude, shout out to whoever knows that those guys are not in the lineup right now.
Yeah, this is definitely the work of an unpaid intern who's trying to make it, you know, if you get the MLS power rankings and someone's getting paid, they're comfortable. This person's out here fucking grinding.
So we also had Ari's listener questions that he submitted were all FCTO based. So let's pick those up here, E. A couple questions here. Ari said, we are starting to see the team gel a little bit better, and the midfield actually looks engaged with the attack. Both of the team's wins so far were with Jorge out of the lineup and on first team duty. Do you think that Jorge is perhaps trying to do too much by himself, or was it just a matter of time before the guys started to play better? And then secondly, would you rather Jorge get first team appearances / a potential supplemental contract, or play with the second team more? So I'll start there on this one. I think that the second team results so far are not tied to Jorge doing too much. I think it's just kind of small sample size here. The team as a whole looked very bad, in my opinion, in that first match. But the three absent, right, giving up the 2 late goals and then losing the PK shootout to Ventura in that second game, not great. This team is better with Jorge out there, and I rarely have I thought, well, that was a little bit of a selfish player. Like one more pass and we get a better look. That's not something that is a pattern to me watching Alistue play. And to the second part of the question, like, he's going to play with Fcito more regardless of his first team status or not. And him getting that first team supplemental deal and having to take up an international slot, like if we do that, then that just tells me that we don't have plans for that third international slot in the summer window. And if that's the case, then I'm fine.
Yeah.
So like, I would love to see him get that supplemental. We both, I think, believe that he deserves that from a talent and skill standpoint. But I reject the premise that the team is, there's a Ewing theory here with Jorge Alistue in the second team.
Those are both of the things that I would say here. So yes.
So third question, to close out last business day, Ari said, thoughts on Mo Badawia so far this season? Could he be the next homegrown signing for Austin FC? And I can keep my answer short. I thought he's looked great. And dating back to the preseason, I thought, again, like there's no goals there. Not a ton of, like, we only got to see 3 of the 6 preseason matches, but especially the one in person against NYCFC when he came in, like literally bloodying his nose out there, being physical with some of those NYCFC guys. That's a good team over there we're seeing through the first month and change of the MLS season. Could he be the next homegrown signing? He's on a trajectory that puts him in the path of potentially doing so. There is a long way to go, but his progression has been very positive over the last year, I think.
Yep. I think he really kind of like popped off the page when I saw him in person, and it looked like he had some skill set that could translate. And I think he's on the right path, and I think he's got a long ways to go as well. But I would love to see that for him because I have been impressed watching him in this young season thus far.
And if we could have essentially a boy factory.
The boy factory, hard work in the first team quality. Today's academy, can't you see? Tomorrow's Austin FC.
Nobody clip boy factory and use that.
Extensive boy factory here on episode 294 of the North End Podcast. We will start with last weekend's results, taking on Charlotte FC, and then the young guys taking on Houston Dynamo. So it was the U14s earning a strong road win against the Dynamo U14s, a 4-1 victory, 2 goals for Ryan Thompson. Oliver Hamadi added a goal in the 52nd minute, and Alexander Kilpatrick finished them off with that 4th goal in the 80th minute. You get all 4 of those Austin FC U14 goals in the second half. Moving on to the U15s against Charlotte, 2-1 win over Charlotte for the U15s. David Lorenz opens the scoring in the 25th minute. Toby Trujillo added the decisive goal, the winner, in the 60th minute to steal the result. U16s fall 2-1. Tightly contested match there. Luke Garcia scores the lone goal for the U16s in the 85th minute, so gave him a little bit of life late on there, but not able to bring home the result. And the U18s, this was at home, I believe. They fall to Charlotte's U18s 2-0 in that match last weekend. So all in all, I think, again, you see that 4-1 win over the Dynamo Academy. That's the one that stands out to me.
Yes, absolutely. Me as well.
So we also know that this weekend is the beginning, the group stage, right, of the GA Cup out there in Florida. And we've got the U15s and U16s out there. Day 1 of the group stage was on Friday, and we got the results in here. U15s 1-1 draw against the Revolution and their U15s, but the 15s lose in PKs 5-4. So just about as close as you can get there in the group stage, but you drop the additional point. And then the U16s, this was their first match. This was against that South Korean academy, the Busan iPark FCE. And the South Korean side does prevail in the first game of the group stage for the U16s 2-0. So we're on to day 2 here on Saturday, and another heartbreaker for the U15s. I think this is like a reschedule or like a reshuffle of the groups, because this was supposed to be an academy from Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, from the original press release that we read off last episode. So this is the Cedar Stars Academy, and the U15s dropped this one 1-0. So I don't know if, there was maybe problems with everything that's going on outside of the soccer world with the Saudi Arabian academy team coming to Florida. But as we went live, the U16s, we posted the starting lineup picture here on the academy socials, and they were taking on the St. Louis City U16s as we were recording. And just like Los Verdes and their watch party information, perfect timing from the U16s to get our first win of the GA Cup, the 3-1 victory for the U16s. So I'm pretty sure, again, if your group shakes out to a point where maybe 2-1 can get you through and advance you had to win that second game. So I would imagine that the U16 still alive here to potentially reach the knockout rounds. But we know with just the 4-team groups, sometimes losing one match can knock you out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just great experience for these kids, man. So I'm excited for that, learning lessons, all of that good stuff, and getting to play some teams that it seems like, like you said, it sucks that the Saudi Arabia stuff might have fallen through, but in that South Korean team and stuff, that's all good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will, of course, talk about the rest of the GA Cup on Wednesday's midweek episode. Let's close it out with the nonsense here, We looked at the week 5 picks coming off our first big profitable week of the season, trying to climb back to even at the books. Boy, this pick'em entry was a bummer, dude.
Yeah.
Because Ethan Horvath gives up, I think, 5 goals to Charlotte. Stuver pitches the clean sheet against LAFC, and Martino Heda, 2 shots attempted. Couldn't get that third one off for us, So that entry comes up a little bit short. Still plus 2.32 units on the pick'em parlays so far this season. We ended up minus 2.95 units at the books. Could have been worse if we hadn't put in the caveat to the Austin FC blurb that we were going to wait to see the LAFC lineup to place that wager there. So we did wait. We saw their lineup. We did not place it. But then we did add that Inter Miami plus 210 when we saw Messi starting. So that helped us out a little bit as well. On the week, minus 2.05 units on the goals, minus 0.9 on the picks at the books. So for the year, I mentioned plus 2.32 units on the pick'em parlays, plus 3.61 at the books. And we are a very solid minus 29.95 units on the goal props. So again, we will pick this up as the league does next weekend and try to have another big one to, again, that climb back to even. It's going to be a long journey.
It's going to be a long journey.
So let's close it out, with the best ball recaps. And we start with the Verde Big Ball League here. And dude, these motherfuckers. We Are Austin TV wins again, a 77 to extend their overall lead. Now 338 total points. We are on 225. So 5 weeks in, already more than 100 points back of the lead. Now we did have a scoring error. So we did not put out additional graphics here, but Matias Laborda was misscored, kept his 20 from week 4. He did not play in week 5. So that does affect Phil's score there for Verde All Day. So we are a little bit closer to Phil and Verde All Day there. He retains 4th place though. And we have a tie right now for 2nd between Soccer Wise and the Verde Pendant on 276. So again, still very early here. And with the primary transfer window closing on Thursday, that means that this week coming up between the Verde Big Ball League and our Patreon leagues, we have the first transfer window drafts coming. So everybody going to be able to make some adjustments here. And I'm looking forward to doing that on all my teams.
Yes, me as well, for sure. Already had a good conversation with B about it.
Yeah, there you go. So taking a look, speaking of B, our buddy Brian in 7th here in the Sentimiento League, because wouldn't you know it, Birdman Verde, 61 points. He's got 317, winning once again, extending that lead in the Sentimiento League. Aries and then Mace following him up in the top 3. And I don't believe there was a Laborda in the Sentimiento League, so no changes to this table.
Birdman, out of the gates, hot.
We pick it up in the Heartbeat League where Tim smashes week 5, takes over first place from Peach. But I will say, Tim, the stat man, is the one that pointed out the Laborda error. And good on him. What a guy. He has Laborda.
What a
Tim,
guy.
Not actually in first, but goddamn, first in the, I don't know, the karma rankings right now, dude.
Integrity.
So, yeah, integrity ranks. Tim, number 1. So Peach will retain first place for the time being in the Heartbeat League with Mike in 3rd. I'm just a point back of Mike there. So still hanging around in the top 4. And then we go to the Rooted League. Everybody's favorite league here, where E is in 2nd. And I don't recall who has Laborda. There is a Laborda in this league.
I'm going to go with Trevor.
I think it's Trevor. Yeah, I think it's Trevor. So Trevor on the 74. He may have still won the week because, again, like it's not like he goes from 20 to 0. He had other defenders. But that scoring is already corrected in our scoring sheets. I know everybody in the Discord was alerted to that already. But just for those on the outside looking in, that's what's going on right now, E. So we take a look at the overall standings. Of course, we've got Tim and Trevor's scores affected here. But E tied for 5th with Ari's. I'm right there, right on the line, a point back of Mike, who is 8th with 270. So the top 12 or top 8. If the season ended today, your Premier League would be Birdman Verde, Tim, Peach, Logan, E, Aries, Trevor, and Mike Crignola. And those first 4 out, as we are still in March, E, we'll say the first 4
there
out.
We go.
Myself, Josh Dwyer, Mace, and Schnorb Jones. So still very, very tight here on the overall standings list.
Very good, man. Love seeing it.
Excited for the transfer drafts this coming week. E, anything else for you before we shut it down here? I cannot believe, well, I guess I can believe it, but fucking 115 minutes or hour and 15 minutes, Jesus. On a week with nothing going on.
I'm good, brother.
All right, well, we will have plenty going on Wednesday when we reconvene. Midweek episodes resume. We will be previewing the first team's match against Lionel Messi and Inter Miami. Of course, actually not previewing a second team match, E, because the second team is off until April 12th when they will return home to host Dynados. So next second team match, a big one, but we'll have Boy Factory, nonsense, all that good stuff on Wednesday. We appreciate you all tuning in, sticking with us here on episode 294 of the North End Podcast. Back on Wednesday for another episode. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We will do the same and see you then. Until then, he is E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.